Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is One of One, but you can call me Seven. And as of the time of recording, I don't know if I mentioned it last time. I can't remember the last time I recorded Witch on the Holy Night. We have an anime adaptation of this visual novel. This keeps happening to me. I don't really have proof for the other things. But like, I started reading Frieren in college and I was super excited. I was like, oh, I hope this gets an anime, and then it did, and it was huge. And that was super cool. I hadn't been so excited for an adaptation before. And there are other things, but this is the most recent one. They were just like, yeah, we're gonna do this now, anime for Witch on the Holy Night, which is really, really cool. Especially because I'm right in the thick of it. Because last time, Shizuki had the ground rules laid out for him. He's gonna live with them now, because of course he is. Why wouldn't he? Here's our solution to not killing him and letting him live as a witness to the magecraft that Alice and Aoko did. So now we have to see how that's gonna go and how their dynamic is going to change. So let's just get into it. Okay, so this is just describing the house. Yeah, winter sunlight beamed through the windows, which only made the empty corridor appear even lonelier. So we're just getting like a, here you go, the house. The center of the mansion was topped by a vaulted skylight overlooking the first floor. The staircase connecting the first and second floors lined its walls. Another staircase at the other end of the second floor corridor presumably led to an attic or storeroom of sorts on the third floor. Paying no mind to Sojiro's gawking, because it's a mansion, Aoko descended the stairs with familiar steps. The foyer, or foyer, was a place of white and wood grain. Its hardwood floors shone bright. Is this like a house tour? It's kind of what it feels like. Tall white walls were spotless and brawny, staircase leading to the second floor, unused fireplace, neglected telephone, solemn grandfather clock, more like an old castle than a mansion. Yeah, it is huge, I remember them saying. Aoko shot Sojiro a callous stare, who stood captivated by the otherworldly scenery. Drawing room is this way. Grab the knob of the door next to the stairs. 4 doors to the foyer, and the easternmost as you enter the house led to the drawing room. The door on the opposite side of the foyer led to the mansion's west wing. To the south was the entrance, and on the north side was one more door next to the fireplace. Tucked underneath the stairs, this door connected to a bathroom. Thanks game. Glad to all this detail. Glad to have all this detail, I should say. Not well lit first floor corridors. Seldom attended infirmary. And the foyer a stairwell in some foreign castle. And the first floor corridor was a windowless labyrinth, not unlike the floors of corridors of a hotel. Although it had not been long since Sojiro came to the city, even he could feel this place was out of the ordinary. Seeing as how he was going to be stuck here for the foreseeable future, he found it hard to get excited about living in a haunted house. Fine for cooking simple meals, sunroom, Jesus' dining room, we'll get to that later. She flashed Sojiro a meaningful glance, which she quickly withdrew. Then, without further ado, she opened the door. And is Alice already waiting in there? Sorry for the wait, he's on board, she said to Alice as she entered the drawing room. After hesitating, they stepped in. Compared to the corridor, the drawing room was unexpectedly modern. The carpeted floor, leather sofas, and a large 30-inch television were more what Sojiro had come to expect in a normal home. In this family-oriented room, a girl far removed from said setting sat quietly on the sofa. There she is! Look at her go. Hey, Alice. 2 seating options. Next to Aoko Ozaki, or next to Alice Konji. My man, stands up. Stands up, doesn't know what to do. After about 2 seconds of deliberation, he decided to stand by the wall as neither option appealed. Aoko and Alice were facing each other across a coffee table. The clean, perfectly level table somehow added to the austere atmosphere. No objection since he agreed. One deep nod in response to her non-question. From his position against the wall, they looked as though they were clearing up some niggling grievance. Sojiro got the feeling that the two did not entirely see eye to eye concerning what to do with him. I suppose not, but we still need to investigate the cause. She cast a sideways look at Sojiro with those darkly shaded eyes of hers. Oh, cold indifference, making it abundantly clear that she had no intention of accepting him as a housemate. And you're fine with this? I do hope you haven't forgotten about what happened at the amusement park. Alice's voice was a mixture of judgment and scrutiny. Oh, she was aware that from an outsider's perspective, she and Aoko appeared dangerous. She wanted to know if Sojiro was up to the challenge of living with such people. I wish it had all been a bad dream, but I remember it perfectly. Above all else, it was the only way they would let him live. Alice responded apathetically with a non-committal murmur. She silently placed a small object on the table with a clink. Oh! She pulled her pale fingers away from a small glass bottle. The glass, more pale blue than transparent, was enough to signify its high quality. With a crane-like motion, she removed the stopper. Even though this was the first time he had seen such a thing, something about it made him uneasy. Was it that it made him sad, or... Aoko's standoffish behavior only added to his concern. Alice once again fixed her eyes on Sojiro, who was bracing himself for the worst. Magic of some kind, the glint in her eyes was bewitching. With not a single emotion apparent on her face, she called his name.
Shizuki-kun?
Shizuki-kun. And then boom. Is he inside? Yeah, the moment he responded to her whispered call, his surroundings began to transform. The air grew thick, so thick it took on a color and shape. The density and discomfort that coiled around his skin made it seem like the air had become words. Opening his mouth to gasp for air, the words invaded his lungs. Instinctively, he covered his mouth with his right hand and clutched his chest with his left, both hands appearing clear as mud. Even the thickest of mountain fogs never seized his senses like this. Now, if he had to come up with an analogy, no words could quite describe it, but it was like he was standing in the pages of a newspaper. The first sense to adjust to this new sensation was his hearing. And his breathing stabilized, yet the feeling of suffocation remained. There was nothing restraining him that he could see, but he felt an intense claustrophobia. Oh, he could see Aoko's face floating out there in the ether. Before he'd even felt shock at the sudden change, he reached out in an attempt to find an escape, but his outstretched hands found only emptiness. It seemed contradictory that a place with no walls and a wide view could feel so cramped. Spirited away in a dense fog, back in the mountains, such superstitions never seemed real to him. Until now. Hey guys! A surprise to beat all surprises. The drawing room had not changed into another world at all. He knew this for certain because he could still see the room he was just in through the fog, as well as the two girls, Aoko Ozaki and Alice Konji, watching him closely. It was simply a problem of perspective. The floor was dark and perfectly flat. Looking up, there the two of them stood. The two girls were like two impossibly gargantuan clouds, coldly looking down at him. Remembering the structure of the room and layout of the furniture, Sojiro's unsurpassed candor finally grasped his predicament. The parade at the amusement park had nothing on this. So he's inside, yeah. He's inside the bottle. That was unexpected. Marveling at Alice's wickedness, Aoko glanced at the small bottle on the table. It's the same as 2 nights ago, only this time he's awake. Aoko calmly mused. Alice, however, was not looking down at the bottle. Instead, her eyes were locked on Aoko. I thought you would be upset. Thought about doing something similar. He needed to be taught a lesson about magecraft anyway. You're saving me the trouble. To tell the truth, I'm not even mad. Though, this is pretty hardcore even for me. Aoko did not take her eyes off the bottle as she spoke. Although she did her best to feign indifference toward Alice's magecraft, she could not completely hide her curiosity. The figure inside the bottle, likely having caught on to what was happening, tried various things, like flailing its arms and sprinting around. The surface of the bottle was cloudy, so it was hard to make out exactly what was happening inside. Totally different from the one you gave me. This one took more time to create. The one I gave you was disposable. Only made to isolate the subject. This one allows for two-way communication. Oh, that's cool. You just can't hear him. Alice said calmly, finally dropping her gaze to the bottle. Just then the figure inside stopped moving. It appeared only Alice had a connection to the world inside the bottle. Lame. Only the caster gets to have fun? Aoko sighed, losing interest. Alice opened her mouth as if to speak to someone not altogether there. Still think this is the safest option? The person she was talking to was none other than the one inside the bottle. So yeah, it was her way of testing the boy, who implied that living in this mansion seems safe. Suddenly trapping him in a bottle and interrogating him is pretty ruthless, but even more worrisome is her attachment to this mansion. Then again, considering Aoko had invited this witness to a house of mirrors for a fight to the death, she was in no position to criticize. She would make sure Alice did not let her emotions get the best of her, but for now, she was content to observe as a bystander. What's he saying? After a moment, Alex's expression changed. Must have gotten an answer. No idea for Aoko, only that Alice's face was one she had made when the boy she was talking to said what she wanted to hear. Okay, sure. I'm not one to talk, but for an instant she glanced at Aoko, slightly shaking her head. She reached for the small bottle. This Shizuki is quite a strange one. She said his name with what seemed like a forlorn frown. He's back. As soon as she removed the stopper, the air in the room quivered. Boy who had been casting a shadow on the wall until a minute ago now leaned against it for support again. There we go. Hey, welcome back. How do you feel? What does it look like? Messed up. Sojiro answered with unusual hostility. Aoko was reminded of his strange behavior, as she was sure that he would be scared or shocked, not angry. If I'd already seen something similar in a dream, my heart probably would have stopped. I'm lucky it didn't. What I can't believe is why you felt the need to use magecraft on me. You could have just said it was scary and left it at that. Plus, I could hear the threatening things you said, Ozaki. I'm so sorry. My sincerest apologies, but it is true that I wanted you to feel it for yourself. At least now you'll take magecraft seriously, won't you, Sojiro? As much as he hated to admit it, she was right. Though, it was not that he had taken magecraft lightly, but merely that he couldn't understand it. He still doesn't get it. Whatever the heck just happened to me was hardly unbelievable compared to what she had done, yeah. Even in our world, her magecraft is considered over the top and unspeakably horrible. How rude! When it comes to which of us is more of a threat to human life, I think you are far more dangerous than me. And that's besides the point. I'm starting to harbor doubts about you even wanting to kill him in the first place. You must have been pretty soft on him for him to say he believes that he's safe here. Well, of course I wanted to kill him. I don't know what he's told you, but you've got it all twisted. This guy doesn't realize he's in danger until he gets burned. And even then, he'd probably think, well, at least I'm still alive, and whistle all the way home. Isn't that right, Sojiro? Huh? He had no idea why she was suddenly shouting, but he nodded anyway, just to be safe. The drawing room had become awfully noisy. Alice sat watching the two at a complete loss. Ah, how silly. So this is what our life is like now. And so, Sojiro accepted his supervised life in the mansion, and that he would be living under the same roof as two professional mages. Having experienced firsthand how dangerous that life could get, he was finally at peace with the situation. If that's how it's going to be, then oh well. Even if he did not seem to like it, or did not seem like it, he had thought it through in his own way and come to a clear resolution. So I know we said that you'd be under supervision, but we haven't really talked about how we'll be doing that, or the magecraft that is responsible for enforcing it. Let me start with a brief explanation. Perhaps he was brought up to listen closely to lectures about new information because Sojiro suddenly looked attentive. Alice, on the other hand, kept her mouth shut in silent defiance. The time you'll be made to live here has been predetermined. In short, until the end of that period, if you don't tell anyone about us or die for some reason, you're free to go. Die for some reason. Good so far, Alice. Indeed, provided he refrains from angering us, that is, he has a chance of survival. Okay. Okay, Edgy. This is already off on the wrong foot. That's enough, Alice. And you, shut up. Oh my god. So they're gonna live, sake of confidentiality, other problems are bound to come up, exposed to even more of our secrets. That's what has Alice so bent out of shape. Now that Aoko mentioned it, Sojiro could see her point. With their target of observation under house arrest, the disclosure of more confidential information was inevitable, of course. Doesn't that make me being here a little counterproductive? In the end, we'll just have you forget everything about us and about living here at all. Have me forget? From the incident in the park onward, you'll forget everything. There's a kind of magecraft called runes. Oh? It has the power to make one forget memories. It's a bit inhumane, but erasing memory seems a bit better than, well, erasing your life. Do I get to say it? No. No objections. Anyway, an amnesia rune is outside of our field of expertise, so it's going to take some time for us to find the rune and learn everything about it. In other words, that's when you get to leave. Oh. Well, that sucks. That's ass and is lame. And I sure hope that one of the two of them cares enough to abort the the procedure or whatever ends up happening with the amnesia rune when it starts to happen. Probably gonna be Aoko, let's be real. So, yeah, Alice's idea is that we destroy your five senses and be done with you to avoid the extra effort. What do you say, fancy becoming a living statue? But only understood about 80% of what Aoko had explained, and the last part about a living statue had gone straight over his head. He had tried his best to visualize what Aoko was going on about, but the only thing he could conjure in his mind was an image of the mascot creature, Kitsy. Yeah, I'd rather not. So yeah, no, we're all good. Probably take about a month to find this amnesia rune, and another 2 to put it to use. Until then, that means you'll be living with us. However, we can't just let you wander around without a clue about what's going on. That's a surefire way to get yourself killed. I doubt you'd be comfortable being left in the dark about us either, so starting now, I'm going to fill you in on what it's like to be a modern magician. At the very least, it'll hopefully prevent any more misunderstandings. Not that she thought this country bumpkin had any idea of old or new anyway. The thought brought a smug grin to her lips. Tour of the mansion for later. Who and what mages are. Oh, this is for us. Perfect. This is for us. Yeah. We need to, only bite off as much as we can chew. Great. Professorial instructions. This was Aoko's way of telling him not to ask questions when he did not understand something. He meekly obeyed, knowing better than to object now. Okay. A long lecture. All right, guys, I'm going to read this out loud, and I'm going to try and absorb the information. I'm going to read every bit of it, and we're going to see if you guys can also connect the dots. Ready? Let's start with mages, magicians, basically. Since it doesn't concern you, I'll skip the part about how magecraft and magic are not the same. All you need to remember is that they are two different things. Mages, as an absolute rule, must operate in secrecy. Naturally, mages will find out about other mages, so it's only a crime if an outsider like you finds out about one of us. A crime punishable by death, I should add. So, magecraft and magic are not the same. Got it. The reason being that the more magecraft is exposed, the weaker it becomes. You'll often hear us say mystic or mystery, which come from a Greek word that means to shut them out. It follows that magecraft would cease to be if its secrets were revealed. Civilization has always treated the unexplored and the unknown as things to be feared because of their mysterious nature. But we don't hide ourselves because we fear persecution if we're discovered. What we fear is the loss of the unknown itself. When our arts are revealed, they become weaker, so by protecting our secrecy, we're also protecting our own future. I'm not clear on how magecraft works yet, but I think that what you're saying is that if you don't keep it a secret, it gets weaker. Got it. So then does that mean you got weaker now that I saw you, Aosaki? No, not particularly. Let me explain in a little more detail. When I say it loses power, I mean magecraft as a whole will get weaker in the future. I'm not talking about individuals. The unwritten law that thou shalt not conceal thyself was an adage from a bygone age, but at some point it became a law of the highest order. It's like laws in a civilized society. We like to think that it's human nature to punish crime and immorality, but ultimately a structural solution is needed to maintain order. If crimes were left unpunished, the society we strive so hard to build would collapse, and what we may just consider to be a crime is dissemination and vulgarization of the mystic. Merely immoral things like murder, well, those are a matter of perspective, and they generally aren't considered outright crimes. The good-for-nothing bunch responsible for imposing this law is a group called the Mages Association. Think of them as a labor union. The phrase make eternal the mysticism of magecraft is nothing more than a rule that they created to perpetuate magecraft itself. Nevertheless, the rule is absolute. Those who violate it cease to exist in the magical world, or rather it would be difficult for them to go on living at all. For us, that's our life as mages, I guess. In order to protect it, we had no choice but to erase you, the witness to our magecraft. Don't give me those puppy dog eyes. Just because you know a little about our lives doesn't mean we're not fessing up to what happened at the amusement park. It was our decision. Oh, what did that say? Sorry. Sorry. I accidentally rewinded. It was our decision to try and kill you. It wasn't anyone else's fault. So if you're going to blame anyone, blame me. Okay, back to the topic. In the past, mages were recognized in society enough for it to be considered an occupation, but they took their own magecraft with them to their graves. I don't know what led to things getting so twisted, but even the profession itself has to be kept secret these days. Oops! Oh, crap. Sorry. If they didn't go that far, the association feared that in the distant future, magecraft would be used up and the association would fall apart. We reached a point where everything became explainable through human knowledge, from the building blocks of nature to the fabric of the cosmos, once considered to be the realm of the gods. Maybe the founders believed that magecraft would become the last bastion for the unknown, for mystics, that which is beyond human reach. Or maybe they thought that in the long run, magecraft would eventually become meaningless. Whatever the reason, mages hid their identities and passed on their individual rituals in secret, and since they couldn't pass it on to outsiders, it was only natural that they taught it to their descendants. Alice and I are both products of generations of lineage. The Mages Association I mentioned earlier is a vast organization that governs those magecraft wielders still dedicated to their field. Mages think of them as their ruling body. The association is actually made up of a bunch of factions, and the vast majority of mages are affiliated with the London chapter. The law to conceal ourselves was one of the three main principles. If a mage reveals their secret to a civilian, the association is quick to make an example of them. But even if the mage doesn't get punished, the witness should still be eliminated to protect the mage and their family's magecraft. And that was the end of the first part of the lecture. Aoko paused for a moment. Sergeant was doing his best to process information, and so are we. So, magic and magecraft, not the same thing. I sure hope I already did not just get that wrong, just say that wrong outright. But we know that they are two separate things, and we don't know why. We do know that if magic is discovered by the outside world, it's going to get weaker in future generations because there's this thing about, I don't know, Greek. Like there's this thing that they say, and it's just like, oh, well, if it's discovered, it's going to lose its power, blah, 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 blah. And it's just become a rule. Hey, keep the mysticism to us. All of this stuff, keep it to ourselves, because otherwise we're really going to be in trouble, essentially. And so we eliminate all outsiders who discover us and discover our magecraft, and thus keep ourselves safe, keep our lineage safe, keep our family safe, and the people who practice the magecraft. I think that's the long and short of it, as far as I can tell. Let me scrub back through it and see if there's anything I missed. Okay, I'm ready to move on. I hope you guys are too. Take a second to digest that. Jeez. Let me see if I understand so far. Oh, thank you, Sojiro. God, you're the best. Now they're more concerned with hiding themselves. Not for their own sake, but for the sake of, if you break the rules, you'll be punished by a place called the Association. You two are members? We're freelance, though we walk in similar circles. They're simply the largest organized group. Okay, so they're not associated. They've taken upon themselves to police the world of magecraft, so no matter how unaffiliated we are as mages, if we break the rules, we'll get punished anyway. Okay, that's kind of ass. I've barely learned enough to talk about it myself. Sorry, I forgot I said that. These days, magecraft is losing its meaning. If you created fire a long time ago when there were no lighters, that was enough to count as a mystic feat. But nowadays, life is awfully convenient, right? You of all people can appreciate that. Sergeant nodded with a glum look on his face. He had been made painfully aware of such conveniences. Difficult tasks that would occupy an entire day of work in the mountains could be performed easily here. For him, having been brought up in the mountains without electricity or running water, city life was by definition magic. He only wished it would not be such backbreaking work to adapt to such conveniences. I do think that creating fire without tools should be a god's job, though. Even though we've worked out how to do it more efficiently with a flamethrower? Sojiro wasn't sure how to answer that. It would have been easy for him to ask Aoko how much accumulated effort she thought it had taken humans to imitate those gods, but he knew it would come across as an insult. I was under the impression that magecraft could do anything, but maybe I misunderstood. Isn't it anything that already exists in the world? I'm pretty sure that's the bit. He still had not come to terms with the fact that he had been trapped inside that tiny thing, the glass, yeah. However... Oh, that's a misunderstanding, alright. If magecraft wasn't all-powerful, why would anyone bother to learn it? Oh, okay. Aoko puffed out her chest as she chided him. It might take some doing, but there's nothing magecraft can't do. Granted, some users are able to trick you into thinking something's possible when it really isn't. But since we were born into this world, there's nothing that we can't do within its limits. Besides true magic, of course. But we'll get into that some other time. True magic? Okay. Magecraft doesn't create miracles, it's only the process that's miraculous. I understand. To produce a real miracle, you need true magic. A great mage is someone who can fly a passenger jet with only their own magecraft. Okay. Magecraft and magic is different. A great mage is someone who can fly a passenger jet with only their own magecraft. Meanwhile, a magician deals in making the impossible possible. Which is why we might just turn out to be the last magicians. Focus, Aoko. Alice had been quietly listening until she muttered her rebuke, as if Aoko had crossed the line. He doesn't need to know that. Shouldn't we be educating Sizuki on the dangers of living with us? You're right, slip of the tongue. Anyway, mages spend every waking moment experimenting in magecraft and would become devils in a heartbite in order to protect their magecraft, by which I mean their family secrets. Their lairs, which we call workshops, are like fortresses packed with all kinds of magical mechanisms, like traps that kill intruders before they even know what hit them. It's all to protect our secrets. Mansion is no different. If you want it trapped like you were before, because you wandered around carelessly, even I won't be able to help you, so be careful of the dark. You might even find yourself stuck inside a mirror. Seriously, that can actually happen. Poor guy. Oh god. Yeah, he's not gonna get a straight answer about what to look out for. Keep your nose out of where it doesn't belong. Even though we're going to erase your memory in the end, there are still things that we'd have to kill you for seeing. The mansion has rules I have to follow, I understand. Is there anything else I should... His eyes wandered as he trailed off mid-sentence, pondering. He understood that the mansion was more dangerous than outside, and that magecraft needed to stay secret. But the explanation seemed to contradict his current problem. For starters, how would he manage to witness something that they took such pains to keep hidden? I'm sorry, it just occurred to me. Mages are all united under the organization called the Association, right? If that's the case, why were you attacked by that puppet, Aozaki? If its master was a mage, wouldn't that mean that you were fighting an ally? Am I missing something here? I was saving that for last. Normally, this would be the point of the story where you'd say I made it all up or laugh it off. Even if you'd experienced it, the existence of magecraft shouldn't be something you accept so easily. Aoko scratched her head as though troubled by how Sojiro could take every word at face value. Because you have to. At this point, it's so incredulous. It's so ridiculous. It's so beyond the realm of expectation and reality that you just sort of have to just let it pass over you and just go, yeah, man, this has got to be real. Like, okay, I mean, after what I've seen and what I've experienced, sure. Yeah, she said the same opinion. Is that so weird? It's mega weird. In fact, even weird from the get-go. A normal person would be shocked, scared, and willing to accept our existence. Why do you of all people believe me when I say I'm a magician? In retrospect, this question should have been posed at the House of Mirrors. Back then, though, Sojiro was surprised by seeing the phenomenon of magecraft for the first time. He showed no surprise or discomfort toward Aoko, the mage wielding it. Feeling the probing stares of the two girls, no, the two mages, made Sojiro feel uneasy. From where he was standing, their suspicion was suspicious in and of itself. There's no reason at all, really. Up in the mountains, people just accept things as they are. We don't deny something we see in front of us just because we don't have the knowledge to explain it. You said it yourself. Lighters and magic might as well be the same thing, right? Thought they weren't really the same to him anymore. Oh, though they weren't really the same to him anymore, he added quietly, before shutting up. What he said about those innocent days in the mountains had come from the heart, and the words resonated with not only Aoko Ozaki, but also Alice Kuwanji. It was something everyone should have, principles to stand by. Indeed, to this boy, those words were an unshakable truth. Some things are the way they are, I see what you're saying. She was impressed, if only slightly. If this boy, no matter how much of an outlier he was, could accept the things around him, he would be able to get through this just fine. That's a good way of explaining it, Sojiro. I guess the fault's with us for not believing you sincerely. Much like when Aoko met Sojiro for the first time, in that classroom on his first day, Sojiro took everything that was happening in his stride. The memory brought a bitter smile to Aoko's face. Interesting. Okay, let's get back on track. There are mages that don't belong to the association at all. They do as they please behind the association's back and fight other mages for their personal gain. That puppet's master is one of those types. So those jerkwads were a convenient, easy target. But just because we have an arrangement with the association doesn't mean we're one of them. It's not like they'll come to save the day if we're at risk of being killed. But aren't mages forbidden from using magecraft? As long as it's not in public, the association turns a blind eye. Heck, they practically encourage fights between mages as long as it's kept a secret. Like if we don't use it, we'll get rusty or something. Anyway, the attackers on us are a different story and have to do with the fact that we own land. This house? Oh please, just this house? Oh. Alice and I hold the rights to the entirety of Misaki City. We're administrators of the whole region. Yeah, me too, man. Administrators? You own all the land in Misaki? Dazzled, Sojiro looked away. He was sure he could see a halo of light around Aoko. He'd only been renting an apartment for 2 weeks, but he was already aware of how magnificent the prospect of owning land in the city might be. The word Sojiro was trying to articulate was rich. He shook all over with an emotion he did not fully grasp. Hold it. You're thinking about this all wrong. When we say land, we're talking about the ownership and control of spiritual grounds. As mages. The Ozaki family might be a minor player. We've got old roots here as mages, which is why Misaki falls under our jurisdiction. When I say we administer the land, administrate, I'm talking about a place where spiritual power is distorted and gathers easily. This type of land has always been valuable and it's vital to the experimentation and practice of magecraft. After all, the 3 pillars of what makes a successful mage are a strong workshop, lots of disciples, and fertile spiritual grounds. Damn, okay. Owning administered land and a residence to live in are #1 on the priority list. Okay, got it. So they want disciples, fertile lands, and what did they say? What was the last thing? Administer land and a residence to live in. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, got it. Sojiro let her continue while wondering exactly who these 2 girls were to have achieved both ambitions already. Most have been claimed by the association, nothing left. Rogue and landless mages have no choice but to borrow land in exchange for a monthly donation. Worker bees. Okay, I see. So they keep them down in that way. It's been in my family for hundreds of years, so the association can't get their grubby hands on it. For rogue mages, our land is the juiciest fruit there. Oh, they're in a really dangerous, precarious position then. Interesting. They have to defend this house, protect this house. Unsure whether to call the conversation mundane or outright disturbing. I get it. So you're basically fighting over the land. Yes. Pretty much. But because the administered land of Misaki is so minor, its challenges have all been third-rate. The enemy this time is probably some small fry thinking this place was low-hanging fruit, though for now we're on a ceasefire because of your intrusion. That's enough. Sizuki seems to understand the point that there are other mages out there apart from us. If any danger exists, it's more likely to arise as a result of him becoming involved in one of our battles. He'll be fine. Besides, this guy has 0 trace of magical energy, so there's no chance of him being sensed. Plus, he has less tactical value than a watchdog, so he shouldn't be a target. Aoko, he saved your life. Come on now. He saved your life multiple times. You wouldn't be here. Alice would have killed you if not for him, so let's chill with that, huh? We just have to make sure he doesn't escape before we can find the amnesia room. Alice silently stared at her partner down. Their ideas of involving Sojiro differ greatly in both gravity and risk. Aoko's lack of experience had led her to believe that Sojiro would not get directly involved in any fighting. It was an honest and rational thought. Aoko despised wasted action, so it was natural for her to expect the same frugality from her enemies. However, there were those in this world who could not tell right from wrong until it was too late. No one knows what the future will bring. I only hope that when the time comes, we won't regret this. No? The gloomy sigh, Alice came to her feet. I'm not done with the lecture yet. You don't think that was entirely for Shizuki's benefit, do you? Your opinion matters the most, and we still haven't heard it yet. If you must stick to your plan, that's fine. I'll stick to mine. Alice glided soundlessly to the door. As the girl in black opened it, she paused, barely lit by the dim corridor. Then, without warning... Oh! To the rhythm of her footsteps, the small glass bottle floated into the air and shattered without mercy. Jeez. All right. That is what I should have done earlier. Her sharp tone made Sojiro's face go pale. Alice's voice was so quiet it was hard to tell if she was being serious or mocking him. I forgot to mention something. She icily eyed them before turning away, and in a voice even colder than her gaze stated, I'm still not happy with this arrangement. There she goes. Her frigid departure seemed to forebode the many difficulties that lay ahead. Such a sore loser. Leaned back on the sofa while hurling abusive epithets. Her face looked even more irritated than usual. She says letting you go and letting you stay here are out of the question, but I don't see her coming up with any bright ideas. She's as stubborn as a mule. One put it past her to resort to violence to get her way. Sojiro threw a wary glance at Aoko while she grumbled. You wonder what Alice's show of defiance meant, shattering the glass bottle like she did. I thought I could convince her by including the backstop that we could erase your memory, but she's having none of it. It's rare that Alice is even cognizant of other people, but maybe having you live here was a step too far for her. She was fine while you were sleeping, but when she saw you awake, it must have roused her sadistic side. Watch your back, Sojiro. She just might come to finish you off. If anything, Aoko's warning was an indication that persuading Alice had hit a dead end. Somehow, it doesn't seem like the situation has changed much from the other night, Aozaki. She shot him an unconcerned look in reply. I mean it. Really? That girl's just itching to finish what you started. The next time I make eye contact with her, I might not walk away alive. This must be what people call a cliffhanger. I'll try to make sure that doesn't happen. Besides, Alice isn't feeling as urgent as I was at the amusement park, so there's always a chance that she'll get over it by herself. You mean her reason for wanting me dead is different from yours? Yeah. That time in the park was because of our strict adherence to the secrecy law, but we've solved it for now. Even Alice understands how creepily earnest you are. So she should have no reason left to worry about confidentiality. At this point, she probably just doesn't want you to live here, hence her desire to murder you. Jesus Christ. She said so matter-of-factly, her eyes cold and serious. Sojiro had hoped for a trace of deceit or exaggeration. But alas, I did get that impression from her, but it's strange. If that's how she really feels, then surely we can find another solution. Perhaps feeling guilty about putting Alice out, Sojiro looked uncharacteristically concerned. Aoko immediately knew what his words really meant. You mean like keeping you locked up inside that tiny glass bottle until we find the magecraft needed to erase your memory? The apathy in her voice until now was gone. Sojiro answered with a simple nod. In truth, it was undoubtedly the easiest solution for all parties concerned, however. I don't break promises, remember that. She hated taking the easy way out, and that quiet fury was clear in her soft words. As for where that fury was directed, Sojiro was acutely aware. The pain in his chest made him regret making her say those words. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. His sudden apology caused her usual sullen expression to return. Aoko had not appreciated how angry she was, let alone the reason for it. To her, his apology had come out of nowhere. I don't get you at all sometimes. What are you apologizing for this time? She stared at Sojiro, unblinking. I'm not sure myself. I guess I just feel like I should. Even in saying he was not sure, Sojiro had answered honestly. Aoko was at a loss for words. God, he's just so like face value. It's so unnerving. It's so off-putting. You don't expect it from any other human being other than this guy. Keeping a promise is more about the process than the outcome. He shot her a brazenly honest smile. That smiling face filled with blissful ignorance almost made her smile back instinctively. Now you get it. If life were only a means to an end, I couldn't live with myself. Aoko attempted to cover for her embarrassment with a quick retort. Though unintentional, having a true feeling exposed like that made Aoko a little uncomfortable. Just a touch. Finding offense in something was second nature to Aoko. Being made to feel uncomfortable was not. Heavy distinction there for her character. Though far from being unhappy at the remark, she turned away from its speaker. To disguise her perceived shame, Aoko started up the conversation again. Okay, if I say I'll let you go, you can be sure I'm going to do just that regardless of how I feel. And if letting you live here is what it takes to keep my promise, I can take it, even if it means Alice and I butt heads. Even if they're just idle threats, there's no way I would let her bottle you up forever. Thanks. Now I get what you're giving up, trying to persuade her. She won't be persuaded anymore. So that's why you called it Cold War. It's not as if I'm doing this for you, I'm just keeping my promise. Like you said, I've done my part, now it's your turn, so you know, the ball's in your court. Okay. 2 days. Cohabitation. I was the only one capable of doing it. I've hit a dead end. Taking a hands-off approach. I'll protect you from Alice for the time being, but in the meantime, you're the only one who can convince her to accept you, Sojiro. I see, so this is what our actual true goal is. I get it. That's cool. Sojiro had not expected that at all. I like this. The girl in black who kept everyone at arm's length. If Aoko was a modern-day mage in hiding, then Alice was a bona fide witch from the Middle Ages. You understand how difficult that will be, right? Of course I do, and now you know how I feel. Aoko stood up from the sofa. This was the end of the discussion, at least for now. Now I have an idea of what kind of people we are. The less involved you are in magecraft, the better, so I'll spare you any further lectures. The long and short of it is, you'll be living here for 3 months. Your first objective, or first trial if you like, is to somehow get Alice to accept you as her roommate. Jesus Christ. A trial? You just called it a trial. Sugarcoating it won't do you any favors. After all, blow it and you're a dead man, remember? With her cold-blooded remark, Aoko started walking toward the door. This is so intense. This is so silly. About your room, it's up on the 3rd floor. There's a set of stairs on the far side of the 2nd floor hall, so use those. Not a dorm, so you're free to spend your time however you want. No West Wing, a classic. I rent the East Wing, so it should be relatively safe in comparison, but still it's generally safer to not wander around. In other words, the safest places for you are your room and the drawing room. Wait, is that really all you're going to tell me about the mansion? That's messed up. That seems way more important to explain than magecraft. He desperately called out to her as she began to leave the drawing room. Aoko could not help but pity him. Can't you at least show me around? I'll have to pass. Showing a country bumpkin the lay of the land twice is plenty enough for me. Plus, you just woke up. Why not take it easy in your room for the rest of the night? I'll show you how to get to school in the morning. It's not like I'm made of free time. My obligation to put up with you ends as soon as final exams are over. If you don't find some way to make nice with Alice or find some way to blackmail her within a week, well, you know what that means. With barely a wave of goodbye, the student council tyrant walked out. He unconsciously clenched the hand he had raised. Left all alone, he was at a complete loss. Then, as if to encourage him, oh, chirp, chirp, chirp! With the sound of lightly fluttering wings, a blue robin appeared out of nowhere. It's Alice's bird. The tiny chubby bird innocently looked Sojo up and down. Blue robin, a bird said to bring happiness according to folklore, flapped its little wings as if to cheer him on. Then, with a flutter, it mercilessly flicked off the lights. Poor guy. Poor guy. Well, all right. There's the lay of the land. There's how everything is going to work and how all parties involved feel. So we're going to have to see how this plays out because it seems like not great. It's hard. This is a really tough situation for Shizuki. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I definitely did. And I will see you guys in the next video. So for now, have a good rest of your day and I will see you soon. Bye.